What do you get when you bring writers together for some fun and games?
Writer's Virtual Table.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of Writers Virtual Table. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today we have some wonderful writers who's going to play some wonderful games with me. Unfortunately, there are no trophies, there's no prizes, there's no winning. It's just a lot of fun. All right, so let's get started with VK. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
G'day, Casey. So my name's VK Tritschler. I'm based in South Australia. I've been writing for about 5-6 years now, and predominantly in romance, although I do genre jump a little bit within that field. I really got into writing when I moved over. I was born and raised in New Zealand with a Canadian family, and when we moved to Australia about 5 years ago, we decided that we wanted to do something that we'd never done before, and my choice was to write a book. And that kind of got me down the rabbit hole, and I've been stuck down there ever since. And yeah, I've really enjoyed the process of learning to become an author. My first book was The Secret Life of Sarah Meads, which is kind of a chick lit look at a woman who's not coping very well in life. And it kind of got me into the habit of writing regularly and creating new worlds and adventures. And from there, I've now got 5 books out. Another several on the way. My latest one is A Town Called Nowhere, which is a paranormal romance based here in South Australia. And I got that idea from the concept of having panthers roaming around Australia. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Our next author is Karen. Please introduce yourself, Karen.
Thank you, Casey, and hello, everyone else. My name is Karen Pierce Gonzalez. I'm from the wine country of North San Francisco Bay Area, and I've been writing since I could hold a pen and had binder paper. My mother would buy me a little package for school when it started, and I had to fill every line. So I would read books and then try to rewrite them in my own way when I was a child. So progressed through, I've been a journalist. I teach fiction writing classes. I'm a folklorist. Have had a lot of work published. My first book was about how to write family folk tales for people who get caught up in biography and bogged down by memoir, using folktale motifs to move their stories along. I have just finished Lullaby, which is another folklore book between seaweed and otter. I have a collection of poems under consideration with Shanti Arts. Say prayers for me, please. I write literary fiction fundamentally, and poetry, and then guides for people who want to write their own folklore. So thank you.
Thank you. And Bobby.
Hi, I'm Bobby Nash. I got started, the writing bug first hit me about the time I was in high school. It took a little while to make things happen, but I started out writing comics. I started out wanting to draw comics, but turns out I'm not that good an artist. So I started writing them, and my first published work was as a comic book. In 2004, I sold my first novel. And it's been pretty steady work since then. I do a lot of novels, novellas, short stories. I still write comics when I can. I've dabbled in audio and movie screenplays. But yeah, it's fun. I write a lot of different genres, but there's almost always a thriller element to them. So I guess thriller is my genre. And I just like tag other things onto it. Because I like to, yeah, as has been pointed out to me, I like to kill people. So that's, yeah. And so I've been doing that for a while. Like I said, since 2005 was when my first novel came out. And I'm doing several series either on my own through my own press or through other publishers. And so those are the genres that I like to play with.
Awesome. And last but not least, Stephanie, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, hi, I'm Stephanie LaVigne. I am in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, beach town, and I've been publishing full-time for about 5 years. I think I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary soon of going all in and writing mainstream fiction. I started with romance and I'm finally writing mystery. So I write mystery and romance. I wrote under pen names for several years and now I have just sort of emerged under my own name this year. So it's been a pretty fun transition. I get to do fun things like this. And I think as most writers, I've done some version of writing my whole life, like you guys, Lit Mag in high school and in college and all things like that. Then I worked in the film industry in New York City for several years. And then I was an underwater photographer, an underwater portrait photographer, and a interior design architectural photographer. And finally came full circle back to what I always had planned to do and knew I needed to do, which was write. And it's been very rewarding since then. So that's what I'm doing.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
The Fox Hill Southern Mystery Series. Have some good old Southern fun with the Fox Hill, Tennessee series with lovable amateur PI Caitlin Claiborne. Caitlin Claiborne, ambitious Chicago realtor, reluctant music hall inheritor, and small-town investigator. From a sassy, geriatric box office attendant to a flamboyant dance instructor to an animal-loving, trigger-happy rancher, Caitlin must navigate Fox Hill's quirky inhabitants to gather clues and get to the bottom of the Beaumont mystery before time runs out, for her and for Fox Hill. The Fox Hill Southern Mystery Series.
And we are back.
All right, so now it is time for Ask a Question. So I'm going to call on one of you to ask one of the other writer a question, okay? So let's start with Stephanie. You are going to ask VK a question.
Oh, I earlier realized VK and I should have been friends already, and we have not met until today. So
I know, right?
I know. I wish I had thought of questions. I was just like, why haven't we been friends? So let's see. You've been dabbling in a lot of different genres that are kind of similar, rom-com and mystery and paranormal. Let's see. What is the question going to be? Have you found yourself drawn to one more than the other, or do you feel like they're just variations of the same voice, like you're writing, or are they really different stories? Does that make any sense?
I know what you mean. Yeah. I guess for me, when I'm jumping around, it's because I write based on my emotion. So whatever emotional state I'm in is what I'm writing in. So if I'm really happy, I'm writing a rom-com. If I'm feeling a bit edgy, I might get into sort of something a little bit darker. So I understand the frustration for the reader because I get lots of different genres coming out. But I tend to write better when I'm in the book, and to get into the book, I have to be emotionally connected to the book. So for me, I'm writing sort of 3 or 4 books on the go at any one stage, and I pick up and leave off where I am emotionally during that time. And I find that stops me getting that kind of, oh my God, I can't write today feeling, because I've always got a book in some range that it fits into. So yeah, I probably am not a good author in that regard, because it's not always sort of streamlined for the reader. But yeah, I do find that I write much stronger if I'm connected to it. So that's how I do it.
Fantastic answer. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Bobby, ask Karen a question.
Okay. What has been the biggest surprise that has happened as in a result of your writing, either through research or something that you've found yourself with an interest in that you didn't know until you researched it?
Scarecrows as a folk art. I just started noticing them because I'm in a rural area, and I started talking to people. Now, keep in mind, I'm a trained anthropologist, folklorist, right? So I would start talking to people about their scarecrows and the stories they would tell me, the energy and the spirits that were imbued into these garden figures. So I did a lot of research on that and wrote articles about it and presented it to the American Folklore Society. That surprised me.
Very nice.
Thank you for that. Next. VK, ask Bobby a question.
Okie dokie, Bobby. So what would you think would be the best feedback that you've ever got, either from a reviewer or a reader or somebody you work with?
Like in terms of about a story, probably the best was when I was first starting my first novel. I took these night classes at the local college. The kind where it's not for credit, you just go kind of for the experience and to learn. And we would read in front of the rest of the class and do the feedback back and forth. And I'd written this, my first novel features these two brothers. And so I'm reading this section I wrote where the two brothers have come back together after the first time in years. And I read it, and it kind of falls flat. It doesn't really resonate with the people that have heard me read it. And so the feedback I got was that nothing in their dialogue or their actions made them feel like brothers. And so I took that to heart, and in the week until the next one, I sat down and thought about it. It's like, wait, I have a brother. I can use that. Instead of just making it all up whole cloth, I can use things from the real world to build characters on top of. And so I rewrote it with that in mind, giving one character his personality and one character my personality, and let them have the exact same conversation. And I read it the next week, and the results were more positive with you could take out the stuff telling us they're related because we know, we can feel it. And that has helped me with the designing and developing characters to this day. I still kind of have that in my head of, do they feel like real people? And so I always spend a lot of time making sure the characters feel real to me, because if they feel real to me, they'll feel real to the reader.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen, ask Stephanie a question.
Fantastic. Hi, Stephanie. So you used to write under a pen name. You no longer do, correct?
I've wrote under several pen names, and I am keeping one pen name now.
All right. So since you're using your birth name for some of the genre writing, how has that changed the work?
That's a great question. I'm writing now what I had always intended to write, which was mystery. And I didn't know very much about romance before I started writing it for my mother-in-law originally, and just sort of having an audience, and that there was a whole process to that, but it was really fun, and I found I loved it and I really enjoyed it. Now I am finding my voice, I guess, which was always there, but it's refining in a new way, because now I have to own up to it, even though all my pen names have done really well and have those readers love those authors, which has been so nice and rewarding. So I'm like, okay, but now it's me. So it's a little bit scarier every day. But yeah, I think that maybe my protagonists are a little bit different, and I've had characters and stories on the back burner for so long, and so many of these stories that weren't ready because I wasn't ready to finish them and put them out. And now that I know how to put out stories, I'm like, oh wow. So I think that there's even more authenticity in my characters. Like Bobby was just saying, I write a lot of what I know into my stories. So I think that being myself, it's interesting because the world is so vivid and so familiar in a different way to me, maybe already. But I'll have to wait till the reviewers confirm that with my new series. Might just be in my head.
Thank you all. All right, now it's time for the next section, Judge a Book by Its Cover. I am going to show you a book, and all you have to do, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to look at it. You got to give me a title, a genre, and a plot, and the main character, or if you have more than one character, if you can come up with that in 30 seconds, all right?
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
Okay, Stephanie, looking at that cover, what do you see?
I'm going to go with some version of self-help, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. I might need this book.
Self-help.
Self-help, inspirational, the lines or missed chances, missed lines. I'm a big word person, so it takes me a little longer. And at the last minute, I'm throwing the main character out as Petrie. Don't know why.
Okay, thank you. Bobby.
I'm going to go with Crossing the Lines. It's going to be like a comedy, and the characters on the cover are symbolic of the two characters inside, who are going to be Sam, who is going to be represented by the eagle, and Cam, who is going to be represented by the dove. And it's going to be a coming of age comedy about these two friends in their small town and how they grew up.
Awesome. Karen?
Okay, my book is going to be called Flight Patterns, and the main character's name is Skylar, and Skylar is actually two aspects of one personality, thus the two birds. And it's going to be fabulism in that it's about the break apart and come together of two aspects of oneself. There you go.
Awesome. VK?
So I'm kind of lucky because I got more time than you guys. I'm going to call it The Wings of the Angels. I'm going to make it a thriller about an angel who falls to earth and turns into a dove and has to find his way back home. And I can't think of a name, like it needs an angelic name, so it'd be Gabriel or something.
Awesome. That is amazing. When I first made the cover, I said, I don't think it's good enough for a book cover, but you guys really turned this book into something amazing. All right, now it's time for the next section called Who is That Character? I'm going to show you a character's name, and all you have to do is guess the title of make up the title of the book, the plot, what this character does, whatever, and then a genre. Okie dokie.
A fast-paced, action-packed book series, Snow, follows Abraham Snow, a spy, on his mysterious and exciting adventures. Snow, available on Amazon, hardback, paperback, ebook, audiobook, and free on Kindle Unlimited. For more information, go to abrahamsnow.com.
And we are back.
Okay, time is up. All right, Bobby, who is Lucy W. Brickley?
Lucy is a high-powered attorney who is excellent at her job, but she's quite often not likable. She starts out as a very unlikable character because she'll do anything to win, even at the expense of her partners in her own firm. The plot I would come up with is that she ends up taking on a case that is the exact opposite of the kind of case she would normally take. And she ends up, she realizes that her clients are actually innocent and goes out of her way to prove their innocence. And so it would probably be like a crime thriller.
Cool. BK, who is Lucy W. Brickley?
Okay, so I call the book Lucy Brinkley Saves the World, and it's a rom-com set in the apocalypse. So Lucy wished she'd met Pete before the apocalypse. Now she has to work out how to be sexy and keep them both alive.
Great. That's great. Stephanie, who is Lucy W. Brickley?
I went similar to Bobby, I guess a little bit both. Rom-com, thriller, judicial law. She is a fledgling lawyer who decided she was very meek, mild-mannered and meek, left her job as I was working on that. Barista doesn't quite fit, bakery worker, but kind of coming into her own to defy all expectations and prove all of them and herself wrong by taking on the system and having some hijinks along the way. I love hijinks.
See, hers is a prequel to mine.
Yeah, millions, Bobby.
All right, Karen, who is Lucy W. Brickley?
And mine is the sequel. So my character is a civil rights attorney for the stars. She carries a briefcase inside which is the Milky Way. And her job is to defend the solar system from the incursion of spaceships, which leave as particular kinds of debris and trash, not asteroid mineral clusters, but that actually toxify and poison the stratosphere. So she's seeking reparation.
I think this is actually a four-part series of her journey.
Well, you have each other emails, so
Yeah.
just
Right?
let me know when it happens.
Nikki, a werepanther since a child, and without a pack, finds herself on the run from the law. With nothing left to lose, she doesn't trust anything, especially her own heart. Drew, a famous race car driver and inheritor of one of the most influential packs of Australia, is trying to escape notoriety and his fate. Together they find themselves stuck in a small abandoned town called Nowhere in the wilderness of rural Australia. Can they learn to trust each other and find a future, or is the call of the wild too strong? A Town Called Nowhere by V.K. Tritschler.
All right, and we are at the last section. This has been so much fun. Karen, if you can start us off, tell us about your latest book you published and what book are you working on now?
Okay, great. I am actually working on a collection of poems called Soda Fountain Sky, in which the constellations and the asteroids and the nebulas and the clusters are all aspects of a 1950s diner. And they all there's comic car, the Pleiades, for example, are car hots, right? So that's what I'm working on now. I just finished this, which is the cover for, it's backwards, but it's Seaweed Song, and I referenced it earlier. It's the folklore lullaby in which seaweed is singing to sea otter, because sea otters, the babies are often left wrapped up in the branches of seaweed while the parents go diving for food, and it's the seaweed that keeps them safe and keeps them from drifting away. So it's just a lullaby. Thank you. This has been a gas.
Awesome, thank you. Stephanie, what have you recently published and what are you working on now?
I'm going to buy Karen's new book because that sounds amazing. I just happen to have this copy. This is what's publishing right now, Headlines, Deadlines, and Lies, which is, that is the proof, but part of my Sunshine State series, which is my new mystery sort of mega world that I'm doing some cozies in, which is like this, and then I'm doing sets of 3s, and the next one coming out is Oceanside Widows Club, which I've been working on forever. I'm very excited about. Then it'll go into a missing persons section of 3, and it's kind of, there's interrelated characters, the whole world. And right now, currently, besides working on finishing up Oceanside Widows Club, also in that world, I'm doing a serialized serialized series called, well, the working title is Florida Man, which is about a woman who, I'm really into apparently faking your own death, but has to change identities. And she's also kind of roped into this world and brought down to South Florida. And it's a little bit police procedural. So that's really fun. But in a kind of quirky way of this person who's thrown into a situation and has to suddenly pretend to be, or actually getting a chance to be someone that she's not gotten to be before with a different persona. You kind of can live in a different way. And so doing a lot of very Florida centric stuff, living in my little Sunshine State mega series, and starting with this one that's publishing, and it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Great. Thank you. Okay, VK, what have you published and what are you working on at the moment?
Okay, so I've recently published A Town Called Nowhere, which is a paranormal romance based in rural Australia, which I kind of had a bit of fun with the idea that people see big cats around Australia. So I thought, okay, let's turn them into shifters and make it a romance. So that's what I did there. I got the second one of that one that's coming out later on this year. So I'm finishing that one off at the moment, which is cool. My to-do list is massive. So I've got like about 5 books on the go at the moment. Again, jumping around depending what the day brings. But I've got a rom-com in there. I've got a new paranormal romance in there. I've got a thriller, which will probably never be published until I die because it's pretty dark. So don't know that that one's going to be like a lifetime thing. And yeah, I got lots on the go. I've got audiobook coming out with one of my later books. So yeah, very exciting.
Thank you. And Bobby, what are you working on and what have you recently published?
Well, the most recent thing that came out, I'll hold it up here, is it's a comic book collection of Domino Lady stories that I wrote. The first 2 I co-wrote with Nancy Holder, and the rest of them I wrote solo. Domino Lady is an actual pulp character from the 1930s that I've been fortunate enough to write a few times, and Nancy and I do a lot with her. So we're very excited about the comic because it's been in production limbo for a while. So we're very excited it finally came out. Currently, I'm working on. I just finished the sequel to my very first published novel, which was called Evil Ways. I just finished Evil Intent. And I'm also working on book 2 of the Sheriff Myers series and book 6, sorry, doing this backwards, book 6 of the Snow series. So that's what's keeping me busy these days.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me on the second episode of Writer Virtual's Table. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. So I want to thank Karen and VK and Bobby and Stephanie for taking the time out of your schedule to come here. And of course, you, the audience, thank you so much for always stopping on by and viewing. Have a great day and have a great week.